Hello everyone, I finally completed my PC upgrade. Now running with an AMD R9 390X. Bit of overkill, to be honest with you. I was going to buy a 390. I did have to buy another power supply, but I was going to buy a 390, but they didn't have any in stock. And the 390X was £30 more. Which, the price of that 390X, it was £299. That's under £300. It's normally about between sort of 330, 350. To get it for under just under 300, I thought was a good deal at the time. It took me about 2 weeks to get a power supply. I decided to go for the Corsair CX750. And I regret not buying the modular one, or the semi-modular version. The difference was like £10 more expensive for the semi-modular one. And when I saw the cables in the case, when I first got it, I was like, shit, I regret not buying the semi-modular power supply. But there you go. We now have a 750 watt. I probably could have got away with running the 390X on the 650 watt, which is what I currently had, or did have. But it says on the box it recommends 750, so I bought a 750 watt. Total power consumption of the PC is 598 watts with that card in. It's an AMD FX 8350, which is quite a power hungry CPU. It's 125 watts TDP it is, so it is quite power hungry. So I was aware of that. I like to have a percentage margin anyway on my power. I'm always cautious with power. You're always going to be cautious with power supplies. So I decided to go, I'll just go and buy the 750. That was what the power usage was estimating. Anyway, the power estimating was 598. 650 would have been fine, but I don't want to push it. So I decided to go with the 750 watt, and as you can see, it's a pretty decent card. Now bear in mind these frame rates that we're getting in Far Cry 4, we are recording with these frame rates. 10% costs us, the recording software usually costs us about 10% of our total FPS. And I didn't realize this while I was recording this, we were running the card in silent mode. Okay, running it on the sort of lowest power consumption mode, so we could probably run it. You get 3 modes with the MSI gaming app. It is an MSI card I decided to go for. It runs pretty cool actually. It's 66 degrees is like the total, and my old card would have got up to about 76 degrees, I'd imagine. 70, between 70 and 80 at least, the old card. This is at 66 while running Far Cry 4. That's not bad. It's not too bad, actually. I forgot I was actually running it in silent mode. Silent mode is 1050 megahertz GPU speed, the clock speed. Gaming mode is 1080 megahertz, and OC mode is 1100. I think we'll be running OC mode from now on. I don't think we'll be running silent mode, to be honest with you. Although the frame rate was pretty good. You got a few dips here and there, but it stays above 50, and that's decent. That's Far Cry 4 on ultra settings. I tried GTA on ultra settings again. Got 60. Pretty nice. Everything turned to very high. I turned up some of the advanced settings in GTA, which is not really recommended. We got up to 5 gigabytes of VRAM. We have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. It is weird having 8 gigabytes of VRAM, which is a little bit overkill, to be honest. I'll be honest with you, it is overkill. And the other thing I decided to do is, while I had the PC open, I thought I'm going to save money on my heating bill, and I'm going to turn all my fans to extractor fans. Oh yeah. Because I'm sitting here, I woke up this morning and it was snowing outside, and I'm like, it's 14 degrees indoors. I'm like, fuck that. This is Celsius we're talking about. 14 degrees C indoors. Fuck that. And I want to save money on my heating bills, so I'm going to run The Witcher 3 with all the fans in extractor mode, and it does work surprisingly well. I have gained 10 degrees on the CPU though. It's running at... It was running at 30 degrees idle. It now runs at 40 degrees idle. No big deal, really. I do run water cooling. I do have a water block. It's like an all-in-one water cooling thing. So I decided to turn the fan to an extractor fan rather than an intake fan for the radiator. I have gained 10 degrees, but it's not a big deal. 55 degrees Celsius under load. That's not a big deal. It used to run at 50 degrees idle back when it had the stock cooler and it would get up to like 65 towards 70 under load while that was while gaming as well with the stock cooler. So you know, it's bearable. We'll live with it through the winter. I'm gonna have to switch them all back when the summer comes and get air into the system is what we want. Get some cooler air into the system. But it's winter and, you know, room temperatures are low and, you know, I think we'll go for, might as well use your PC as a cheap form of heating, you know. See, people say AMD systems are, you know, they cost more in power, but, you know, it's cheaper than, you know, it's cheaper than running your central heating system. So there you go. There's a lesson for you with an AMD system. Turn all your fans around. It'll run a bit hotter, but as you can see from the GPU temperature, the graphics card is not affected. I did not like the 0 decibel thing that was on. I set up my own fan curve, and the fan speed while under load is 35%. It runs it under load. It runs at 35% idle because I've set that as the minimum standard. It stayed under load 35%. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do me, to be honest with you. But there you go, that is the AMD R9 390X. I will do a video in the SWTOR, see if it makes any difference. I doubt it. My 8 gigabytes of VRAM will make any difference. It'll probably still use 900 megabytes of VRAM, and that's but it runs okay. It runs games pretty well. I'm quite impressed with it so far. I haven't tried The Witcher 3 yet. I'll have to try that. I was gonna record that, but I don't know how that's gonna record. Didn't wanna try it, to be honest. Ran Far Cry 4 ultra settings with the recording software. I think it's quite impressive. I mean, it does dip to the 40s occasionally, but you know, it's trying to it's running the GPU's video decoder as well to record it, so it does sap some of the power from the graphics card. It does reserve a bit of VRAM as well, but we got VRAM to spare these days, going from 3 to 8. I'm gonna try Arkham Knight as well. Probably go from 40 FPS to what, 42 FPS or something like that. I'll see how bad that port is. We can actually run it on high settings now because we've got more than 3 gigabytes of VRAM. But anyway, there we go. I think I'm pretty happy with it. I was only going to get a 390 rather than a 390X. Didn't really see the point, but you know, it was an extra couple of quid. You got to be good to yourself. And I like the independent fan control. That's pretty awesome with the MSI one. It's the Twin Frozer 5, which is a pretty cool name. It's got an MSI. It's got a little LED MSI light on it that you can change the color on, which I don't care about because my case doesn't have a window on it. Well, it does have a window, but you don't see the graphics card. You only see the CPU. It's not a very big window on the side of it, so you can't really see the MSI logo glaring at you. It's just kind of a pity, really. But, you know, I don't care about the cosmetics. I care about what it does, really. I think the problem that we're going to have now is our CPU is a bottleneck now. It is going to be a bottleneck right now. AMD CPUs, not the best. They're not the best. Well, they're decent sort of multi-core, but single-core, pretty weak at the minute. The biggest regret about that PC that I built was going AMD with the CPU. Don't regret going AMD with the GPU because, I mean, again, the sort of comparison on the NVIDIA side is the GTX 980, which is a lot more expensive. I mean, it is like £400 in the UK for a GTX 980. This was £100 cheaper than, you know, than a GTX 980. And yes, it's not as good as a GTX 980, but you're talking about maybe 5 to 10 FPS more out of a GTX 980 than you are from a R9 390X. So the price difference is huge and the performance difference is minimal. That's my opinion. The GTX 970, it can outdo that as well, which is, you know, the GTX 970 was 270, and R9 390X is 300. I'm gonna buy the 390X. It's just, again, it's not hugely better, but it is better. And you know, I'd thought about a 970, but then it's like 3.5 gig of RAM. Do I really want that? We're seeing games nowadays, if you want to go beyond 1080p, if you want to go to 1440p these days, we're seeing games just use more and more VRAM, use more than that 4 gigabytes of or 3.5 gigabytes, we should say. The other half a gigabyte is slow RAM. I don't know what difference it makes. I've never tried a GTX 970, but I think they're just too expensive at the minute. If it was cheaper, if it was 200 and some £230, I'd have bought one. Okay, but 275 at the minute. Yeah, you get Rise of the Tomb Raider for free, but some people put that up as an argument. I argue and say Rise of the Tomb Raider is going to be worthless. Okay, it's worth nothing really if you think about it, because you know your graphics card is a long-term investment. Okay, I want it to last 5 years, and in 5 years' time, Rise of the Tomb Raider will be £2 on the Steam store. Okay, in 5 years' time, it'll be worth nothing. Okay, I'm not basing a decision on the free game. Didn't get a free game with mine. I don't care. To be honest, I'm basing that in what I can play in sort of 5 years' time. 5 years' time is when we're going to be replacing this card. Okay, that's what I'm going to be looking at. In sort of 5 years' time, it's going to be probably the ideal time to replace it. Probably with something with 22 gigabytes of VRAM and 4 fans sticking out the side, and you're gonna have to house it in a wind tunnel or something like that. I don't know. Maybe we'll get quantum computing by then. Who knows? You know, because Google did build a quantum computer, which is interesting to see. It's an interesting bit of technology. Interested to see where graphics technology goes, because of course we are limited by the current gen consoles, which, you know, still are struggling to compete with even mid-range PCs these days. I mean, my old graphics card, the R9 280X, of course, way better than what you get in an Xbox One or a PS4, can do Fallout 4 1080p with high settings at, you know, 50 to 60. Sometimes it dipped into the 40s on the 280X, but you would get certainly a lot better than the Xbox One and PS4, which were locked at 30 FPS and dipped into the 20s on occasion. You weren't seeing that on a 280X, so it was a decent card. But I decided to upgrade because, fuck it, I can upgrade. Also, we get independent fan control. What I do is set one fan to 27%, and one fan to 24%, just because I can. Okay, no reason, just because I can. They can be 2 different speeds. I'm gonna make them 2 different speeds. Anyway, I'm pretty pleased with it, so it is a decent upgrade, and we'll see what it can do. We'll see if it makes any difference in SWTOR. Probably won't. Very CPU bound is SWTOR. But anyway, that is all for this video, so thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon, and goodbye.